following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, the Genesys RPG Podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys Role Playing System created by Fantasy Flight Games and produced by Edge Studio, a show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me, as always, are my good friends and co-hosts, Chris Holmes and Stefan Dragonspawn. How we doing, homie?
Rockin' Stone!
For Carl!
For Carl. Yeah, Deep Rock Galactic, baby. Got a little hooked on that a few days ago. Thank you, Sean, Tony's son, for showing us the greatness that is that. Maybe we'll put that in the show notes. I don't know, link to it.
Fun video game.
It's fun. It's just dwarves, space mining dwarves. It's Starfinder in space in a way, and just being stupid and dumb and fun. You know, that's great. How about you, Stefan? How you doing? That's really all I gotta say. Been that.
I'm doing good too. I'm away from home at my parents visiting, but recording remotely.
Sweet.
And recently I listened to some other podcasts, and one of them was an RPG podcast, and they read one of my emails I sent to them talking about introducing like groups of NPCs, like rival NPC groups to the PC groups. One time, how I did that with a one-shot in Savage Worlds with the Space Truckers scavenger hunt. I don't know if you guys ever heard about that when I ran for Jamie and Daryl, Blaine, and But anyway, it's a big scavenger hunt. It was really fun. One of the rival groups was basically a guy that I named Sweet Gary, who likes to dress up as Shirley Temple on his ship, the good ship Lollipop, which is painted bright pink, and his crew are basically battle droids painted in various pastel colors, and how they had to fight off that group and succeed at the scavenger hunt, which was, of course,
fantastic.
Totally off the wall. Yeah. So the listeners were, that's like, it was Brett and Sean from Gaming NBS, and they going, I want to play in that game now.
I know. Sometimes
Of course.
we have inspiration, and it just takes a life of its own.
I know. And, just from the wacky NPCs that I created, of course, the group I was playing with, they took it totally off the tracks.
Really? That group did? Oh no!
I don't see it.
Oh yeah.
I don't see it.
No. Well, you had to be there, so but that was fun. So there's some good memories there.
Oh, good.
That it brought back. How about you, Tony? What have you been up to?
Same thing as homie. I took a week off of work to play Destiny 2, but suddenly found Deep Rock Galactic and haven't touched Destiny 2 because the latest expansion just came out. And because I do that when a game I love comes out with something, I take a week off. Well, I've been mining as a dwarf and getting very little done around the house.
That's an awesome sentence, by the way. I've been mining as a dwarf and getting nothing done around the house. That is fucking awesome.
Yep. That's been my world. But I did do a little bit of research for our show. Very little, by the way. Very little. Because
the name of our episode kind of is appropriate for what we've just been talking about, Tony.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
what is it?
This is episode 98. Virtual, quote unquote, tabletop insanity.
Yeah, we've been going virtually insane. Rockin' Stone! For
Carl!
For Carl!
I'm going. The theme song should be by.
All right. Well, let's get on with the show.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to Tuesday Signal, where Stefan shares all of the hot and juicy news off the Drive-Thru RPG and the the Ed Studio section of that website. Okay, you should have kept it going. And
It's a distraction.
exactly. Yeah, you guys know what this section is all about. Stefan, take it away.
Yep. So, hello there, fellow Genesis fans, Genesis players. So this time, something new was it's specifically written for Realms of Tyrnoth, but can be adapted, as per the creators say, to other fantasy genre settings. It's
That's
called
genre
Stone.
for you English speakers.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
That's genre. Now.
Yes, putting the ass back in class. So, so it's called Stones of Solace. The adventure, that's the name of the adventure. And recently they came out with a character pack of pre-gens for it. So the Stones of Solace was out for a little while, created by Rial H. Hyatt. I hope that's how I would pronounce it. In French, I would pronounce it Rial, but whatever. So the adventure has been out for a little while. Then he added the pre-gen character packs, and he's now they're now available as a bundle as well. So this is suitable for 3 to 6 players. We played over between 4 to 6 sessions, and so a nice epic adventure where the heroes save the day, of course. The PCs, once the pre-gens are used, or if you don't use the adventure, you can use them for other scenarios. They have fleshed out backgrounds and motivations, etc., and gear. And from what I can see, about 50 earned XP. Now, the artwork, there's an illustration for each character. They're not, of course, the fantastic artwork that maybe a professional company like FFG is able to afford, but they're kind of nice. And they didn't make an effort, so A for effort, of course. I looked at it. The adventure, the characters are all fairly unique. Sometimes they take a little bit of a twist in them, so it's kind of cool. So the pre-gen character pack is available for only $4.99, as well as the adventure, $4.99. But if you get it in the bundle, then they're only $6.99 for both. And so all 3 will have the links and the show notes, and go there and encourage Riel. Maybe he'll print out or create some new stuff. So far, it looks pretty good to me. So I hope that helps Rial and his efforts to come up with more stuff, and maybe boost his stuff to Electrum or even maybe silver or gold maybe level. And that's pretty much it for boosting the Citadel. Nice and sweet.
Excellent. Well done, Stefan.
Ice.
Yes.
$6.99. That's a steal, man.
Yeah, that's pretty good for both products.
Yeah. How long is the adventure module? Like how many pages are in that adventure?
If I remember correctly, about 20 or 30 pages.
That's decent. That's nice.
So concluding cover, if it's got some good details in it, and of course NPC stat blocks and so forth. So it's pretty nice.
I mean, and 3 to 6 sessions. You said you played it in 3 sessions?
No, I did not play it, but I just read up on it. That's what they say, that it could be played
sessions.
4 to 6 sessions for 3 to 6 players. Is nice.
Nice. Yeah, definitely nice bang for your buck there for sure.
Yep. Even the cover illustration of the adventure is pictures an elf, but not the typical pale elf. It's more like almost like an African American kind of elf. Maybe it's the darker savannas or something like that. So it's a nice take. Doesn't have to be all fair haired and blonde.
Deep elves.
Characters. Yeah.
Deep elves.
Yeah. Or jungle
Awesome.
elves, or savannah elves.
Cool.
Very nice.
All right.
So there we go.
Welcome to the Books of Genesis, everybody. All right. This is where we normally discuss this one section of the books in detail. But today we have something special for you all, talking about virtual tabletop gaming. And we had first discussed this back in episode 17, hitting that Wayback Machine. And that was called Genesis and the Internets. So, yeah, that's right. Oh my God. So Genesis and virtual gaming have kind of grown since then, and probably grown a lot in the last couple of years because of COVID and whatever. I've been doing a lot since then. So I guess we can kind of get into it. And Tony, you found a great resource to kick this thing off. Why don't you talk about it real quick?
Yeah. So Drainsmith, Scott Zumwalt, he runs the Reddit forum on Genesis, and he has pinned to the homepage there a how do I play online thread, and it is a great thread. It does cover everything that we're going to cover in the show, and then of course we have a little more to add to that, but it does have links to all those things, and there's some discussion to be had on the prices of some of the items. They may have may need to be updated on here, but excellent resource if you're looking to start gaming with your group online, or if you're looking for a new place to game online.
We'll definitely have that link in the show notes.
I'd like to kick off our show notes kick off with our discussion talking about the one we've used from day one.
Yeah.
Ever since we started gaming together, before we even were podcasting, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
We've all been Fantasy Grounds users. Now, back then, all of us as GMs decided to pay for the ultimate license. And if you wait till middle of the year, around August or September, there's usually a sale that you can find.
I bought mine around Christmas, right after.
And that was the other thing. You can find it around Black Friday and around Christmas on sale again. Right now, the one-time fee for a ultimate membership for Fantasy Grounds is $149, or you can pay $99 a month and just pay for the months that you're playing. But if you're like us, you play year-round for years on end, you don't take breaks. It has been a huge savings to buy in with the Ultimate license, because with the Ultimate license, you get multiple game systems, including 2D20. You get Warcore, which is their kind of core system. You get all of the current editions of D-Shift 7D.
Yeah.
And then you get a bunch of user-created ones, like we have with Genesis.
Right, and what the most important part of getting an Ultimate license is none of your players have to have a license themselves.
Right. So if you're gonna have one GM or two in the group, if you have two designated or one designated GM, get your players to pitch in and pay for it. It will pay for itself very soon.
Yeah. And it's $150 for that when it's not on sale. And I think I had gotten mine for $120 American.
I got mine for $109.
109. Okay, for you, Tony.
$40 off. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember around that, like half price from what the regular one.
Oh,
I-
wow.
one time, so it was really worth it. And there was
Okay.
one time, me, Jim, and a few others, when Jamie was running us through ETU. Yeah, Chris, I think you were part of that. We all chipped in to get Jamie the full license.
Yep.
Because he was only on the slightly lower license, so we just chipped in as a gift for him. It was like, yeah, there you go. It's all paid for now. You got it forever.
Yeah. And so, like I said, this is the one we have the most experience with.
Yeah.
The data set is user created, meaning the UI that you use to play Genesys. And it was originally created for Star Wars.
The rule set was. Yep, the rule set, which you still need the original rule set, Star Wars rule set for it.
Yes. But then you can buy the Genesys version of that, or not buy, sorry, download these for free from their forums. You can find these on their forums, on the Fantasy Grounds forums. And you have to have the Star Wars one. You have to then Genesys. You can also get their dice extension and a couple other things that actually help make it easier to play the game. Particularly the dice extension adds the ability to do add threat and advantage or successes and
rolls.
failures to your rolls.
Yeah, symbols.
So that is handy because as more things for Genesys came out, it wasn't a lot of that in Star Wars, but as more things come out for Genesys, we see more of that in talents and class abilities and
talents, definitely.
What am I thinking of? Not class abilities, but archetype abilities.
Archetype abilities, yeah.
Oh yeah.
See it in there. So
yeah, sometimes a success and a threat, for example. If you use a certain talent, you'll get automatically a success, but a threat maybe.
Yeah,
right.
And even some
extension. Yeah. Go ahead.
Even some of the weapons abilities that are coming out and such with like Keyforge have that built in too. So
yeah, even the basic ability like superior or inferior adds an advantage or a setback symbol.
Now, one of the criteria. Sorry, go ahead, Stefan. I interrupted you.
No, sorry, just talking about that symbol. And also, I think that dice set has the plus minus buttons that help you upgrade your positive or negative dice depending on who's spending a story point.
Yes.
So that you don't have to just replace the dice itself, just upgrade it or downgrade it so that one of the dice automatically changes.
Yeah, it's very handy to do that. Just click, tell you player has adversary 2. They just click the plus sign twice for the purple die and boom, it adds 2. It changes 2 of them to red. Or if it was a single purple difficulty, you'll change 1 to red and then add a purple.
Mm-hmm.
So it does that automatically. And that's the system part of it. And then one of the things that I love about Fantasy Grounds is the map usage. So you can load your own maps that you can find everywhere on the internet. I mean, I find maps everywhere. If you look for a battle map, Google battle map. If you're looking for one in a church, look church. If you want specifically an abandoned church, type of abandoned church. You want one that's an evil church, you can type evil. I mean, you're going to get 20, 30 good looking.
The maps are only as good as your Google food, as far as I'm concerned, to be honest with you, because there's so much talent out there, and all of you map makers out there, kudos to you, man. And women. That's just great.
Yeah, and there are individuals you can kick in on Patreon that do map subscriptions that are great. I've done 1 or 2 of them myself, where you get monthly maps for a small monthly fee.
Yeah,
and
let's not forget Drive-Thru RPG has lots of maps there as well. For all kinds of situations, but from fantasy, of course, to sci-fi and everything in between.
Exactly. Yep. Now, the one major downside with the Genesys player or with the Genesys extension on Fantasy Grounds is that though the data set has the system, there are no modules that have all of the book information.
Mm-hmm.
That you all have to add manually yourselves, and it's a little matter of creating something, cutting and pasting, and sometimes you have to reformat because books
There are some modules. There are some modules that you'll download, but the description text will say, "Go to this book. Go to this book," and you got to go to the physical book to get them.
At least it gives you the page number.
Yeah. It'll give you page numbers. Most of them will. Yep.
And if you're looking at PDFs, always add a page or two for the cover pages. But
Yep. Exactly.
You can always copy paste it yourself afterwards, but that's mainly for copyright purposes.
Yeah.
Correct. Whatever you add to your individual character as a player, whatever you add to things as a GM stays there. So, and it's just yours. It's not, you're not going to copyright infringe for what you're using.
No.
Whatever you want to cut and paste in there yourself. If you wanted to take the time to put all of Realms of Terranoth's data that's in the book into there yourself, you could do so.
Well, who would have done that? Jesus.
Yeah,
I don't know. That guy would have been nuts.
Yeah.
NVTS nuts.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, homie, you've got a little note here in your notes, and I thought maybe I'd let you go on a little further on this.
So another drawback to playing, not drawback, but a something that you're not going to get in Fantasy Grounds by using the Star Wars rule set / Genesys is it only runs in the non-Unity version of Fantasy Grounds. Now, what does that mean to everybody? The Unity version of Fantasy Grounds gives you the ability to do lighting and setting up walls to do those lighting effects to give you the fog of war in your map, so that when your players can move their tokens on their map, you attach lights to them, the light sources, it'll reveal the maps. You will not get that with this. So I'm not sure the status about that. I know somebody was working on a Unity version. Of course, this is all fan created stuff too. Don't know what the status is on that, but that's a drawback here. But still, we were able
There's another difference between Unity and Classic. Unity is cloud-based for where it saves, so it doesn't use up as much data space on your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Classic, everything's saved right on your PC for the host.
Yeah, and you're making the point connections.
Yeah.
The players are connecting up to the host, right? Yeah. For all of that. Yep. Good point, Tony, on that.
Yeah,
so it does matter, because then when you're running in Classic, you're like Stefan, you have to have good internet in order to be the GM.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to run on rural internet like poor Stefan, you're not able to host in Fantasy Grounds Classic,
right.
Really.
Not and for no.
Yeah, and then these, and then when your players do connect to your game, they are going to be downloading those files, and like we said, like those modules. If you have spent the time to create a player's module or the Realms of Terranoth, text or whatever, that stuff will take time. All of the maps that you've loaded in, that's going to take time for them to download too. But I mean, my overall feeling on Fantasy Grounds is there's a steep learning curve there for GMs and players alike to get used to the interface. But once you do, it's all right once you get the hang of it.
Oh yeah.
You just got to muddle through it, right? You just got to push through it and work through all that stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
I want to say it took maybe 2-3 sessions of running Star Wars in the system, because Genesys wasn't out yet when I first started, 2 or 3 sessions before all my players and I were all completely comfortable with it as a easy user interface.
Right. As far as building the pools and removing the dice, adding the dice, referencing your character sheets and all that kind of stuff. There are some little fiddly bits like there's a combat tracker, so selecting your vigilance or cool from an initiative, a specific slot on the character sheet, so that it puts your roll into the combat tracker as an initiative roll, was one of the things we kind of got to get used to. What was the other thing? Making your combat rolls for your weapons from the combat tab instead of from the skills tab, right?
That was what I was going to say too. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Tony. Oh, go ahead, Stefan.
Yeah, learning what. Yeah, to use the combat tab and choose your weapon there, so that it will also add the damage. Modify the damage and other effects, so that it adds any successes to the base damage. So, we've all been guilty of doing it from the skills, like, okay, so we have to do it manually. Yeah. But that's fairly easy enough when you're familiar. Okay, apply the damage manually, move on.
Right. So as a player, that's that. So then, from Tony, as a GM, your learning curve, what are kind of the, I don't know, gotchas or whatever things that things learned?
You can't. So if you're given modules for Star Wars monsters, you can't use those. The skills are very different. Star Wars to Genesys, as far as the skill set and the way they're drawn out. So you, as a GM, if you're trying to reskin a monster from Star Wars, you really are better off creating it from scratch and just copying over manually the data. That way the creature has all of the proper skills for Genesys in the rule set that you're using, whether it's Terranoth or whatever. Because the skill set is slightly just tweaked differently.
Yep.
And so, like, when one system, just as an example, the combat skills on Star Wars, they use, in parentheses for brawn, they used capital B, lowercase r. But in Genesys, they did it capital B, capital R. Brawl, sorry. And that it's a brawn-based skill. That abbreviation, because it's case sensitive, you can't just click on the dice pool for a monster that's in Star Wars that has brawl and use it in Genesys, because it won't roll. It won't build the pool for you.
Small little fiddly bits like that. That's the steep learning curve, everybody.
Yeah.
If all of your eyes are glazing over right now, that's part of the steep learning curve a bit.
Yeah. But you did a job, Chris. Sorry, go ahead, Tony. Finish up.
It took time for us to do it. But once we got it, the system worked marvelously. It works marvelously for speeding up play. And one of the things that facilitates speeded up play for me is not having the players have to describe their dice pools to the GM via whatever voice chat you're using, which Fantasy Grounds doesn't have its own built-in voice chat, just so you know. So whatever voice you're using, like we use Skype, you normally, if you're in some of these other ones, you have to, I've got 2 yellow, a green, and 2 purple. Are you good with that, GM? In this, you don't have to do that, because there is a window that you can open up that shows the entire table
Everybody's
of players, the players and the GM.
Yeah.
And that's a toggleable. The GM can turn it off. But it shows the players and the GM's the dice pools as they're building them, so that the GM can go, I'm happy with these dice pools, go ahead and roll, and it's just a one-click roll, and it tabulates the dice for you. And that doing that and getting that system down, while it took 2 or 3 sessions, once we had it, man, sessions flew. Because there wasn't time for new players teaching them. I taught my Grognard group on Fantasy Grounds, so they didn't have to interpret dice rolls. It gave them the totals.
Yeah.
And very handy.
Exactly. Yeah, and Chris, you did a great job of making those modules for Genesys. And when they came out,
appreciate that.
The player sheets, basically those were awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I cleaned up the Genesys extension, and I think the Genesys Dice extension had a couple of had a bug or two in it, but I cleaned those up a little bit, and then I made some modules for some of the other systems and such. But
Yeah,
that
I
I've shared with you guys that we played with.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the Star Wars version. You probably use that as a basic template, I guess, to create the Genesis one. So they look great with the orange and blue and white.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Thanks.
reminiscent of the core. Well, that helps.
Cool. Thanks.
All right.
Yep.
So
For it to do.
that's Fantasy Grounds. That's just one of the options out there.
Of the
What's
half a dozen we're going to go over, I think.
What's the big one though that everybody uses? I know all the D20 radio folks and all their players all use it.
Yeah, well, the next one could be is Roll20. That was one that was very popular. It started off a long time ago, like maybe a little bit before Fantasy Grounds or around the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
It's been around for a long time. It's web browser based and very customizable. You can use it for all kinds of systems, including Genesys.
Mm-hmm.
It's right
You'll
now.
have to pay for it. You will have to purchase a license to, I believe, create your own character sheets, create your own system.
Yeah,
if
you have a
want to
free
add stuff.
version, but
There's so many out there though
features.
that you can use.
So I've only played it or used it as a player in Roll20. So I haven't used it as a GM, but I've played different systems in it, so it does work fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been
I
playing
used
in
it
go ahead,
for
Tom.
another system. I used it for not for Genesis, but I used it for the storyteller system for Werewolf.
Right.
Yep, that was fun.
And
they had a decent module there. I think that was easy enough to use.
Right. And for $8.33 a month, to get the ultimate license and be able to and by the way, if there is a module or data set, as I like to call it, created for that system, you can just load it in, save it all in there, load it in, which includes for Genesis basically the character sheet, because everything is done from the character sheets.
Yeah.
As far as dice rolling and all that such, there's really good one out there. It is they've kind of community crowdsourced it, which has a lot of those people that have been playing Genesis from day one and people who helped create Genesis that worked on this. This is the chosen format that they use to play Genesis on. So they all kind of worked on creating that character sheet. So I have had the chance as a player one time to play the Genesis format, and I gotta say that it does almost all the same things that Fantasy Grounds does.
Right.
You do need to have the character sheet format, because that is where all the dice mechanics are built from. Yep. The downside I saw was that the whole table didn't see your die rolls, just you and the GM, your individual player and GM saw your dice pool before you built it. And the GM added the difficulty. Now, I don't know if that was a choice of the GM that I played with, but it could be something you could toggle on and off, maybe. That might be a question to ask people who've GM'd with it before. And if you know someone who has, you can ask them. But it is.
Let's played with Darren on a Genesis game. I remember that. Yeah, he was the one who adding difficulty before we rolled. Right.
Yep.
Sorry about that, Tony.
No, that's fine. And it does have map usage, and it's just same quality map usage as Fantasy Grounds. You can move tokens. You can everybody can see the map.
Yep. It does have lighting and such in it too, and the fog of war and those kinds of things. So in that regard, from a from a Genesis usability point of view, you will have like lighting and those kinds of things on your maps using Roll20, where you wouldn't in Fantasy Grounds.
Has built-in voice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And built-in chat also. Which I forgot to mention, Fantasy Grounds does have built-in chat, but
yes, yep.
Those very, the fact that it has its own voice is handy for people who don't like to use or don't want to use the bandwidth of a separate voice system like we do. But me personally, I like to have video.
Might have voice and it might have voice and video too. It might have video too.
I never noticed whether it had video or not, so I wasn't going to speak on that.
Yeah, I can't say for sure.
I think,
but that's why I started using Skype. Sorry, go ahead, Stefan.
Sorry, I think Darren said that at least the voice chat when using it through Roll20 plus all the other features was a little wonky, but it could be also internet. I'm not sure about the video.
I see.
Either. If you mentioned that we could have video. But when I played with him on another system a while back, we did use, in this case, was Zoom. We use Zoom with video and audio for speaking instead.
Yes, there's multiple options for video and audio out there. I when I first started, I looked at what I had loaded on my computer. I had Skype already, so boom, I just went ahead and started using that. And I've used Discord since. I've used Zoom, used Google, what used to be Google Hangouts, but it's now gone. Yeah. It's only professional now, but still, all those facilitate that if you're not comfortable with using Roll20s.
Yep.
Chris, what do you got some notes on this yourself? What do you think?
I just pulled up Roll20, and it does look like it does support video. Just like
okay.
So I did throw a couple of notes here in that I don't feel the learning curve is as steep as Fantasy Grounds.
For the user or for the person who's trying to run the game, modify?
I think both. I think for the user it's easier, or for the player it'll be easier. For the GM, I think it might not be as steep, but there is going to be a learning curve there, and kind of a different way, I think. All of these are going to have a learning curve, in my opinion. Yeah. But I think this might not be as complicated to figure out as Fantasy Grounds, in my opinion. I don't think. But again, I haven't really GM'd enough to really get a good feel of it.
I could tell you my personal experience, and this again, with this not Genesys, but my personal experience from GMing in it to playing in it, it was much easier to learn to play. Took only a few minutes of him explaining the character sheet and how it worked to me. But learning how to upload things as a GM, a lot of work, and a lot of wonkiness to get it to look right. You had to make sure that your file size and your pixels and all that such had to be micromanaged. Didn't size things for me. So whereas with Fantasy Grounds, I threw a map in, I can just use my scroll mouse to size it, mouse scroll to size it to what I want. In Roll20, I had to do that beforehand in Paint to get it to the size that I want it, so that when my players see it, it isn't blown. Yeah. I mean, just uploading a tiny little image of a clan symbol, simple as that, a little clan tribal tattoo symbol for players to see for Werewolf was, I loaded it and it was fucking 7 miles big and you couldn't fucking understand it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So in another, there are fiddly bits in this one in different ways.
Agreed.
That will got you. That will get you. And Tony just described a good one as well, right there for it. So, and I think that probably is a fair statement on really all of these we're going to share. And another generic blanket statement across this whole thing that we're talking about as well, and I just put it in this one I thought about it, was you are going to spend more time prepping for a game, for an online game, than you will face-to-face game. Guaranteed.
In general, yeah.
In general, you will. Like Tony said, adjusting the size of your maps. Go ahead, Tony.
If you're like me, you've bought the books, for years you've been picking up maps or miniatures here and there. You've got the things laying around that you're going to use. And so when you prep for a face-to-face game, you grab that stuff.
Yeah, and just
The
lay them
books
down in front of your players.
Yeah, the books you need, the GM screen, it's all right there. For a virtual tabletop, it's not.
You have to import it. You have to bring them into Paint. You got to decide what pixels size you want. What, you know.
Not only that, NPC stats. I mean, unless you're playing one of the big games, the big popular games, you know, of D20 systems, whatever variation, they'll have all kinds of modules. The stat blocks are already there. In less popular games like Genesys, you know, the stat blocks you'll have to enter manually if it's not something you've used before.
But like anything else, go ahead.
And that's something I was going to refer to with both Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. If you are a guy like me and Chris, we play other games.
Yep.
You can purchase a lot of times from their own websites the rule set. It might be a money sink, but if you're dedicated to one and you want to play that one virtual tabletop for all your games, eventually you'll collect enough stuff that you aren't spending any money anymore until something new comes out. But you have all that data, and it's all plugged in for you for most other game systems, particularly the big ones like Pathfinder and D-Shift 7D and you know, those huge ones.
Right.
Others.
So
and I think like anything else, like for your face-to-face games, like Tony said, you're going to be collecting these maps, you're going to be collecting the miniatures, you're going to be collecting all this stuff. Same goes, and we're not trying to discourage you from playing online, obviously. Instead telling you that it's going to take you a long time, but as you load in all these maps, as you create these NPCs, as you load in all these different tokens, they're going to be in there for you to use in another adventure or whatever. So you're going to be building your own library of this stuff to reuse in the future. So it may eventually get a little better for you there too. So
or as I have my own full terabyte hard drive of GM resources.
Yeah, you know it. Absolutely. All right. Well, anything else to say on Roll20 before we go to the next one?
No, that's pretty much it, I think, on my end.
You, Tony? You good? All right. Well, the next one is Foundry VTT. Now, I've been playing on this one recently in Flames of Freedom, the Zweehander variant. And this one is a web-based VTT. Costs $50, one-time payment, where you will be hosting a server.
Is that just the GM or everyone?
Just your GM. Just a GM. That will give you a license to start up a server for your players to connect to. Okay. And then you just give them a link, a web link. They'll connect up to your game. Give them passwords, set up passwords for them. They'll log in as their username, and then they'll just connect up to your game. And then with this one, what you do is you basically select a game system. In this case, they do have a Star Wars FFG game system for you to choose and download. I have not found anything specifically for Genesys, though. And then you create a world. Then you'll create your individual scenes for your adventure there. And the scenes will be made up of a background map. You can do lighting and walls. Your environment, you can have everything you can have like a blowing leaves, rain, and snow. And then you can have the actors and tokens, which will represent the actors and characters. Everybody will have like a character sheet and whatever. And you'll have a token associated with them that they'll be able to move around on a map, and you can attach lighting to them. And you can change the lighting effects as well. And of course, like I said, map usage. And for me, as a programmer, it's very strong in that you extend it through module-based programming using like these manifest files that you could find out there. You could create powerful macros as well to roll make whatever kind of rolls you want to make, right? You can, I could see this being used, these macros being created for, say, signature spells in a Tyranoth game to build up dice pools. And you could potentially create with these macros your own little wizard, like that'll walk you through, hey, is this a short range spell? Is it at long range? Is it whatever? What effects do you want to add to it too? So you could potentially get a little crazy if you want. Just how much time you want to really put into it. But that is available there. So I know, Stefan, you kind of added a little bit.
Yeah, I have
as well. You had a couple links here.
A couple of links. We have one of our listeners who's played around with Foundry VTT. He had sent me a few links, and he had invited me to a game just to show me a few, but I didn't have much time to delve deep. His name is Cody Doolittle. He's been playing around with Genesys on the Foundry. So he's got a couple of videos that he made on YouTube on his channel, and so we'll include those in the link. And he's even going to make, he says, I reached out to him today, he'll make a short video, almost like a quick overview tutorial of how to do it as a GM as well, and send us the link so we can upload that for you fellow players. And one of the things he writes, some of it echoes a bit we were saying, Chris. So the complexity and learning curve can be fairly high. I'm quoting his message to me. Yep. Depending on how much you want to do. Foundry can use animated maps and tokens, and does have weather effects. So for whatever reason, you can make it rain, snow, etc. The YouTube creator Encounter library runs through a lot of tutorials. For a basic session, you can get away with very little prep. He says, I've brought in friends to check out the platform, and they've been able to get up and going on a basic level in a matter of minutes. So the modules that can be added, all community driven, which he says makes him a little wary that at any moment that community member in question could drop off the planet.
Yeah.
Hopefully
you see that everywhere, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not just that. If you're downloading something that the community created, it's not quality controlled. So you don't know what you're downloading until you load it.
Only their level of quality control. Everybody has their own level of quality control for sure. Yeah.
I don't mean it's not centrally quality controlled by a central source. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one has found the Foundry developers or admins are screening this. Obviously, yeah. They just leave it up to each individual. So buyer beware, maybe a little bit, but they're usually free anyway.
Yeah. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly. But Cody says he'll be nice enough to maybe include a little tutorial for us. So hopefully, before the show drops, we'll have that link, and we'll be able to add that as well.
If not, he can post it in Mayway.
Yeah.
Yep, you can post it in any of our Genesys groups that we're in, or even our page on Facebook.
Yeah. There's always.
Or you can even tweet it to you, buddy.
Yeah. Exactly. There's always ways to get in touch with one of us. So reach out and touch one of us. I mean, contact us.
You wish.
Reach out and touch Stefan. He is our media touch person.
Damn, we've almost gone an hour before one of those. Jeez. Can't believe it.
What, a double entendre? Oh, we've had a couple.
The double. Well, come on. Not like that, though.
Yeah. Another little disclaimer I just want to mention is that, like we've mentioned prices here and there, but prices are subject to change whenever you guys, our listeners, listen to this in the future. Who knows when the prices might go up or down. So,
if you're listening to this in the future, you're,
yeah.
Price probably. What's $1?
Buyer beware. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, what's $1?
I only have bitcoins. I don't know what dollars are.
That's right.
I have those
working credits now.
Yeah, I have millions. I have the millions now.
So next that we're going to talk about.
We pay in Canadian maple syrup ounces. What the fuck?
Hey?
Go ahead. Hey?
The next one we're going to talk about is this was another community kind of driven one, and that's RPG sessions. Now we've talked about this multiple times on our show.
Have another drink, Tony. You're slurring, baby.
Yes.
Best part about it is it's free.
Yeah, it is.
But
nice nugget.
if you're a generous person, they have a Patreon, and every penny you throw them gives them the time and the resources to work on it. So
yes.
This is user created and updated, so it doesn't receive a lot of updates, but it is good to start. It's browser based. The character sheets look snappy as all get out, and a great place to store all your characters for all systems in one place.
That's where we store our ever since they had created it. I think we had been creating our Advantageous Threats characters up there, and even some of our actual play characters, just as kind of a reference a little bit too, before we pull them into Fantasy Grounds there when we were running too. So.
And it doesn't use a tremendous amount of bandwidth to use it, which is why Stefan, you run games in here a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Ever since my issues with Fantasy Grounds, I can't host. I would still love to use Fantasy Grounds. There's nothing wrong with Fantasy Grounds. It's just my limits for the internet. I've been using RPG sessions, and it's
during tourist season when you're running these games from the parking lot. Wherever the hell you do.
That's on location.
On location.
Because it has different tabs. You can open multiple tabs in your browser. So one for the character sheet and one for the game table. Mm-hmm. There's a tab for vehicles. But one of the drawbacks for now, since they haven't developed that aspect yet, you cannot import the vehicles in the game table yet. But it eventually will come up. You can always wing it if you have the stats of a vehicle.
Nice pun, buddy. Love it.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been an awesome alternate resource for me. Like I said, we're using it quite a bit. It has a dice roller. If you just want to use it for a dice roller.
Which I will be using tonight because I have a fuck ton of boxes I still have to go through to find my dice, and I haven't found them yet. So. I will not be rolling real dice tonight.
And since it's browser based, you can also use it on your smartphone. So it's easy to bring in the dice pool, change it up if there's an upgrade or downgrade, and then rolling it'll educate the whole roll.
Or adjudicate it, something like that. Educate it. It sounds like you'll educate it.
Well, because you educate your new players.
That's right. We'll learn you. We'll learn that roll on you.
Yep. And for game masters, you can upload characters. It lets you choose minions, rivals, or a nemesis, and then it'll have its own limits. Minions will not have, of course, strain, and they only have hits, but there's a place to determine how many minions in that group there'll be, and then it'll calculate their dice pool depending on how many minions are in the group.
Cool. You
just have to check the skills that they'll be trained in, that they're selected, and that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, if you originally had them as a rival and then you changed them to a minion, will it count the ranks wrong and give them 9 ranks in a skill?
No, I don't think you can change. Once you've selected minions, it stays a minion.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, you'll have to delete it and then start over. I've done that. It's like, no, I don't want these guys as a rival. I want them as a minion.
That's one thing that I noticed one time when I was doing Fantasy Grounds, and I had taken a rival threat that was in Star Wars and used it to create minions for Fantasy Grounds, and I had originally had it in for Genesys, and it was a rival. I had all the skill ranks in. Then I moved it to being a minion, put 3 minions in the group, and it populated out 7 yellow dice.
And they're elite minions.
That's right.
So you do have to be careful with some of these when you're tweaking them like that. But
I will try not to build up my pools that big tonight if you happen to go up against minions and Advantageous Threats.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah, RPG Sessions doesn't do that. That's good.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
And there's a chat window in there as well, so you could have characters, and the GM chat in it. You just have to select the chat or the combat tab whenever it's appropriate, or even the dice roll tab. So once you make a dice roll, you have to check on that one to check what the final result is. But then if someone wants to chat, you have to click on the chat window to see what they said. So there's no little alert saying, "Oh, there's a message waiting." Mm-hmm. Maybe one of the little drawbacks of it, but maybe eventually they'll work on that. And if you're a Patreon of a certain level, they call it the Deuce, you can upload images in the chat window.
Nice.
Cool.
Now, one of the things I noticed that when we run the virtual table and you have you have to have separate tabs for both your character sheet and the virtual table.
Yep.
And also, just want to mention, it does not have map support. So even if you do upload images, you can't use them as maps.
No. No.
And it doesn't have any built-in voice, so you do have to have a separate voice system.
Yeah. Exactly.
But all in all, if you're looking at low bandwidth options and mobile friendly for a player who's like, say, at a hotel somewhere, traveling, running in RPG sessions might be an option for you.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So far it's worked well for me, and so I definitely recommend it for what it is. There's no issues for it, and maybe I've become a patron as well, just to help them, and maybe sometimes you're sometimes put up to date with what's coming up, and maybe they'll let you know what they're working on, so you can sometimes provide feedback as well. Sometimes they'll release that to Patreon members. This new feature, you want guys can try it on your next game? Sure. And then how it works.
Yeah. Now, going on to the next one. Now, I want to skip ahead in our show notes, guys. I'm going to call an audible here, and we're going to go ahead and jump to Owlbear Rodeo, because, Stefan, you use that in conjunction with RPG sessions.
Yes.
And I think we should discuss that next, because they two work well together. So why don't you go ahead and kick off Owlbear Rodeo?
Okay, yeah, because I needed at one point something to show map. So I've been searching high and low, not just for Genesys, but when I was role playing with something else, with another system as well, just trying out. I found Owlbear Rodeo. This was a bunch of guys, fellow gamers, who came up with it because they wanted a very simple virtual tabletop for their games, because when the pandemic started, they could no longer meet face-to-face. So they whipped this up fairly freely. They have a Patreon as well if you want to encourage them.
But it is free.
Yeah, you don't even have to create a profile for yourself either. So no email needed, no personal data. You just open up the browser, create the game, and it'll generate one with a password, and just gives you a username that you can change. It will be Sprite or Giant Spider or whatever it is, and that can be easily changed. Your players will be invited. You can send a link to them with or without a password. Encourage a password just for safety. And so it's usually just made for the D20 kind of system. So it'll have the polyhedral dice and the dice tray. So you can use it for a dice roller for that, but it doesn't have Genesys dice. But I was using it mainly for the maps. So you can upload maps. It has a few generic maps of, let's say, forest, for city, pavement, whatever. But you can easily upload new maps. I found that maps that already have a grid are easier, so that when you bring the tokens that they have, they're already sized to the token, to the grid. You don't have to size them, but you can resize the token. So if you bring a token in, it's a giant creature, so you can easily size it up or down if it's a halfling or something. You can also bring in new tokens, which I've discovered you can use any kind of paint or GIMP or Photoshop. Crop an image that you have for one of your characters, like in my Dragonspawn game, you guys have Cookie and Hatru and Udo, and I just cropped a square image of them, brought it up, and there you go. That's their token. Put a name on it, and they can easily move the token around. So that's fairly easy. And you can make some of the tokens invisible. There's no fog of war, though. No hiding part of the map. It's all there all the time. But you can. There's pointers and other forms you can draw on it if you need to. I've used that a couple of times.
You can also share audio files, correct?
I haven't tried it, but yeah, you can share audio. Yeah, so if you have some audio websites like Ambient Mixer, I think you can funnel it through so that they can hear it. So if it's a creepy cavern with dripping water, I think you can try that. I would like to try that eventually, but right now I haven't.
Right.
But it is possible. You can even change the color of the dice if that's important for you. The dice that are already there.
Oh yeah, it's got to be the lucky poopy color dice.
Yeah,
exactly. It's got to be, especially when they're rolling shitty.
Or the barfy, the dice when you're just throwing up all over the place.
Yep.
But no, you can't use Genesys dice though.
No, that's not what it was made for, and which is fine because that's what I use RPG sessions for. This I was only using it to bring up the maps, so it's a low bandwidth. There's no animation, but if that's all you want, all you need, it's perfectly fine. It does the job very well. It uploads the maps really quickly. So
and speaking of which, I spent this afternoon prepping for the Advantageous Threats I'm going to run, and I wanted to bring up a map for you guys this time,
right?
Because we're continuing from last time. It actually took me longer to find the map in Pinterest and download it than it did to go to Owlbear Rodeo, log in. Sorry, didn't even log in. Create the thing, upload the map, add your tokens, renamed your tokens, added some stuff in that amount of time, and it maybe took me 10 minutes to do all of that, and we're set up to run AT later, right? So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty slick in that regard. It did everything I needed to for us. Just you can move tokens around on a map. We have all of us have a frame of reference, and we're going to be rolling dice, having fun. Boom.
Yeah,
not bad.
Tokens you can make invisible, but you can also lock them, and you can even add a little color. There's little buttons for colors. So if you want to associate red with wounded or paralyzed or maybe dead,
cool.
You use that. Yellow for fear. Click that, and the icon will be surrounded by yellow. So there.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
So there you go. That's my take on the Owlbear Rodeo. I played with it, so check it out.
So another option out there, homie. You use it a lot for board games. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, Tabletop Simulator, baby. This is $19.99 on Steam, and I played a lot of board games on it.
Now, every player that's in your game has to pay that, correct?
Yes,
and that's the current price. I bought it on Cyber Monday 4 years ago for like $5.99. So you can find sales.
You can, and you can gift the thing to your players if you want as well, if you're feeling saucy. But once everybody has it, you could play games like Zombicide, Dice Throne, Uncharted, Memoir 44. I think that's when I downloaded it to play Memoir 44 with my buddy Keith. But you could also create a gaming table, virtual 3D gaming table. Now, little bit of a learning curve as far as the interface, using the right mouse button to rotate your camera and the middle mouse button to slide to pan left and right and whatever, right? So there's that little bit of a learning curve. The interface, move your eye point around in it, selecting your token, moving around on the map. There's also going to be a learning curve as to how to load a map in. other 3D models that you can load in, but there is a plethora of models out there, 3D models out there, and it will be in a 3D environment. They're on Steam for Tabletop Simulator. What they have, it's called a workshop. And then you could just go to the workshop for Tabletop Simulator and just do a search. If you want to play the D-Shift 7D game, if you want to look for orc models, 3D models, I don't know what that'll bring up, but hey, who knows, right?
There is a Star Wars user-created Star Wars system for it that's in there in the workshop.
Excellent. I had no idea.
And I don't know if there's Genesys. I did not look it up myself, but there is a Star Wars one. I've seen it. It looks good. It rolls dice like it's supposed to. It tabulates what you got, gives you your results.
Good start.
So dice rolling, to me, in the game, every game I've ever played, the dice rolling system has been wonky at best. You can, and one thing you'll want to learn as a GM, if you're going to run something here, turn off the flip the table option. Because at some point, one player will go, "What's this do?" And they'll click that red button, and all your shit will go flying.
It's fun to play. It's fun to do that after you have like a big FFG, Arkham Horror game that you've been playing for 6 hours, and you've won or you've got defeated by Cthulhu, and then somebody goes, "Let me flip the table," and all your pieces go, but not in the middle of it.
Not in the middle of it, and but it is. I mean, it's like you said, is a big learning curve on it. But once you get it, I know one of the guys we used to play with and used to be in our old community. He swore by it. He absolutely adored it. He'd bring a video monitor to his face-to-face games, lay it down on the table, and run 3-dimensional maps, tabletop simulator maps, running various different games, not just his his go-to settings or systems, but all the systems that he ran. He'd run them right there with this virtual tabletop on Tabletop Simulator at the table, and he swore by it. They said didn't spend a lot of time at prep once he learned how to cut things and properly place the assets in GIMP. I think was the program he used a lot, and
another free to use tool.
If you're that kind of person that you really want to have that 3-dimensional environment for your players to see through, you're looking at distances in Genesys are always variable by map, and in this you don't have to have squares on your maps. Your maps can just be these virtual settings. You going up that stairs is from engaged to short range, and very handy.
Yep. Yeah,
so
it's pretty slick. Could be. I haven't run an RPG game in it. I don't know whether I will or not, because I definitely want to do my 3D gaming in person. To be honest with you, I would.
And you're not going to carry a 50-inch TV to your in-person games.
I'm not going to. If I have to, I'll just take the TV that's 3 feet away from my gaming table and put it on the table if I know you need to. Right on. So yeah.
Okay. Well,
what do we have next, Tony?
The next one is the newest one, the one we discussed a couple shows ago.
Oh, okay.
And that is Questline VTT. Just came out recently, but it's also just recently received the dev-created Genesys support. It's right on their advertising page that they support Genesys. $5 a month to the GM. And then the players can play for free, as far as I know. I've not used it myself, but their claim is that the interface is mobile friendly, so you can use it from your mobile phone. And from what I've seen of the screenshots and the YouTube video that welcome you to it, it's pretty slick. It works really well at doing Genesys, and the things it does right. It's got map usage. It's another option. It's not one we're familiar with. It's new. If you want to try something new and you want to get in cheap, this is the way to go. Don't really have much more to say about it. Do you, either of you, have any more to add on this one?
I haven't spent any time looking at it, to be honest with you. I did not. Sorry. Nothing to add.
No,
But anything that's mobile friendly and web based, I would say it could be something for you to look at if you're interested in, because that means any of your players, regardless of kind of what platform they're going to be running and connecting to, it will be easier for them to do that. Right? They wouldn't have to download a piece of software like Fantasy Grounds. That you'll have to download a piece of software for Fantasy Grounds to play that, right? So.
Yeah, no, a bit like you, Chris. I haven't played. I read a little bit about it, and when I found out about it, they were talking about introducing Genesys to it. Now, of course, it's done. I think like other virtual tabletops, having those interactive or animated maps is like the new standard. So that's what they're aiming for to introduce as well. Being, of course, customizable is one of the things that they push. So if I ever go back into VTTs and I don't want to use Fantasy Grounds anymore for whatever reason, I might look at Questline. It looks pretty slick. And because I'm not a programmer, so if anything can be fairly simple for me, I might look at that one a bit more deeply.
Make it Tony friendly.
Yeah, I am a programmer, and I like things simple myself too.
Yeah.
Well, whether you like it simple or not,
I like them Tony friendly too.
I like it Tony friendly because Tony's an idiot.
No, you're not. You're just tech challenged sometimes. I call it tech challenged.
Okay, I call it an idiot. When it comes to these things, I'm an idiot, but that's okay.
Yeah, and as far as like when we're talking about these fancy animated maps, personally, it does add something to it when you can see the water moves, say, on a map, right? Because that just kind of pops, and that's just, oh wow, that's kind of cool. It'll immerse your players. It's a novelty. It'll immerse your players into it a little bit. Then for me, it does kind of get into, well, are we playing a video game or are we role playing? Are we playing a tabletop game? When does your virtual tabletop role playing become a video game, right? And I don't know. With that, I like the maps. Now I do like the lighting in the lighting effects, the wall effects, when you having that, I call it token discipline for my players when they're moving their tokens around in a map. Okay, whenever I'll say, okay, you don't really have to tell me where you're moving. Just move your tokens, but don't move them any further than, say, a corner. Like you can move them down a hallway, but don't move any further than, say, a corner. Don't move into a room until we kind of have, until we kind of stop and maybe I have you make a stealth check. Those kinds of things, right? And I'm talking about dungeon crawling here specifically, but whether you guys do that in Genesys, I don't know. So
I've done it in Star Wars. I ran a dungeon crawl in Star Wars.
Hell yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And yeah, so that kind of stuff is awesome. I really like that, and that does kind of get. But maybe that one was pretty cool. You had running Star Wars too, the dungeon crawl. So
yeah, ancient Sith tomb, good stuff.
Oh yeah, yep.
All right. So, but we have a couple last ones to just discuss. I don't know how much we want to add to them, but
I'm not familiar at all with the last one.
Me neither. I'll let Stefan talk about that one. I know Discord, the community, they created a dice roller. They call it D1C3, which is kind of an homage to the droids of Star Wars, because that's what it was originally. And there is a huge Genesys Discord community, and they do use the dice bot over there. You just you can use that there to run a game in one of their little game rooms that they have.
And you'll see the Genesys symbols rather than the Star Wars symbols too.
Yep. It works fine. You just have to have, you have to be little savvier with your character sheets, you have to, do the printable PDF character sheets or use an online character sheet creator, which there is one out there. Can't remember the name of it. Genesys Emporium, where you can go create online character sheets. There's also RPG sessions where you can do online character sheets. If you're not using the RPG sessions game table, you could just use it for character sheets. Either way, as long as your GM and your players have access to the various character sheets, you could just use that. Theater of the mind, everything. Simple enough. You could play it from your car, talk about, I think it was you, Chris, talked about a group of people in a car on a road trip.
Probably could, yeah.
Role playing a game, rolling virtual dice, with the exception of the driver, right? He's not rolling anything. But you could totally do that with a Discord dice bot, where one person has that on their phone, or you could even use that with the Fantasy Flight, the one that came from Fantasy Flight originally.
No, I will say, now we do have a map usage none. I agree, but I disagree in a little bit, because you can upload images in Discord.
Yes, you can.
Those can be a map. Now, you won't be able to throw a token on the map or anything like that, but you could upload a map and say, hey, here's the map you're on. You're here. You're going to have to describe where everybody is.
Right. It's a visual.
It's a visual aid.
You could share visuals. You can't interact with them.
Right.
Yeah, I tried that when I ran my Johnny Quest. Before I discovered Owlbear Rodeo, I uploaded a map, but I had to be very specific that this is where the NPC is and where you're at entering. So I had to be this at the left of the map, right of the map, whatever. It's been more difficult that way, but it's possible.
Yep.
And you want to talk about this last one here, Stefan, that you added?
Yeah, that one, a little bit like Questline, is a new edition that I've discovered. I found online called Roll. So the website is playrole.com. Roll as in role play, ROLE. So playrole, all one word.com. It's brand new. It does not have specific rules set for Genesys, or at least not yet, but they say it's user created. You can customize it. It does, of course, have more map usage and mobile friendly, and for now it is free. It is brand new, so I haven't explored more than that, but if anyone out there wants to explore another VTT, look at that one, and see if that one suits you as well.
Oh, that was our ninth one.
Yeah.
All right. If you guys, if you chuckleheads out there can't pick one of these and use one of these to run your game online, whatever. I'm sure you'll be able to pick something.
We're
not using it already.
We are sure that there are more, and there will be more in the future.
Oh yeah.
But these are the most commonly used formats, and they're ones that are discussed in that Reddit thread that are currently in use. The important thing is to go out as a GM and players, go out and find the one that works best for your table and make the best of it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's various levels of interaction, theater of the mind, and such for this. So
right on. So happy online Genesysing.
Yeah. And if there are any that you all have, any of you listeners out there who's like, well, what about this one? I use this one all the time. Hey, you know where to contact us. You know how to contact the rest of the community. Post it there for us, in the Mayway or on our Facebook page, or tweet it to Stefan or email us, So
right on. All right, well, let's jump over to RPG Sessions and Owlbear Rodeo and do our Advantageous Threats.
All right, welcome to our next segment of Advantageous Threats. This is where we build, roll, and narrate the die results from some sample skill checks, and for our entertainment and yours. And this episode, Chris continues with the AT from our last topic show, as Ilgax and Zircon got the handy haversack now, and now they need to escape the merchant square from the guards. Da, da, da.
Dun, dun, dun. That is correct. So listen to the episode of the end of the Advantageous Threats from last time. Roll initiative, fuckers.
Episode 96.
Vigilance, by the way. Go ahead.
Right.
Let's do that. And I will, as you guys are rolling. So basically what happened last time was you got the handy haversack by Ilgax, doing a little bit of sleight of hand, a little bit of telekinesis of the ambits, the final bit of the ambits that you needed from a nearby kiosk. The merchant was very happy with final price and whatever you got. Oh yeah, you got all of it, gave it to you. But then you guys kind of notice on the map here. So Stefan, I think I described this to Tony earlier. So where you guys are on this map is the kiosk, this red kiosk that you're near. The kiosk to the south that I put like this blue triangle on was the kiosk he grabbed the coinage from.
Right. Gotcha.
The pinkish salmon colorish blobs in this market square are the areas of crowd.
Right.
Gotcha. So the size of your tokens are probably a little too big, but we're just we're gaming.
Eyeballing. Yep.
We're eyeballing.
My character is big anyway, so.
He is. So his token probably the right size. No. And what you both do notice are you asked whether there were guards in the square. I said yes, because Tony did roll that to spare last time. But what they are, they're not necessarily guards as much as community enforcers, if you will, that walk around in groups of 3 that are just kind of looking out for the community of people that kind of acting out like they shouldn't be doing. And what you guys kind of notice here is that kiosk is the lady has a group of these 3, the city enforcers, 2 at her kiosk pointing at Ilgax a short distance away. The distance across the merchant square is like a medium distance. The distance from the entrance in the south to the entrance to the north, we're going to say long distance. And and then from there to the off the map is long distance, right? So for all of you, when you're doing out there, if you're doing like setting up virtual tabletops, when you're doing your gaming and maps, you'll want to describe those. They will come in as squares on your maps, but of course in Genesys we all know we don't use squares, we use range bands. So that's kind of what I'm describing here for them. So what did you all roll for your initiative here? And I'm going to roll a couple of them for my bad guys. Okay, so I have
we didn't
2
roll
success.
well.
You didn't? Okay, so I have
neither one of us.
I have 2.1 and 2.0. What did you guys roll?
We are slow. 0-1.
Both of us 0-1.
Okay then.
And I added in the RPG sessions table 2 city guards just to have them in the initiative order. But
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so my minions will go first. Now I've reset the pool, so you guys have 2. I have the 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've reset that from last time.
So your guards are going first, I imagine.
Yeah. So let's see here. Okay, so group 1 is this round. They are, it seems like, so you guys can kind of see them both. It would seem they're still kind of making like a perimeter type of patrol here.
Okay.
This round, they kind of are kind of continuing their patrol kind of to the south of the market square here. These city enforcers 2, however, so there are 3 in each one of these groups. One of them kind of gets on kind of like a comm device or whatever, and they start moving towards this kiosk that you guys are at. They're Ilgak. They're moving towards you. Looks like they have drawn their weapons. Or no, looks like they have like these, they've drawn like these batons, okay, that they've kind of walking around with, like these billy club looking things.
Right.
But they're, them to be kind of like these like stun batons that these enforcers will be wielding in market squares like this. So they're kind of moving over to you, and they're kind of a little reluctant because there's a floating globe there, and they're saying, put your they're getting ready to say, one of them says, like, to you, to Zircon there, put your hands up, but they don't see any hands, and they're like,
tentacles,
stand down, power down, whatever you have there, and you're under arrest. And
I can't. I live in this thing.
Well, yes, we need to take you downtown. You stole from this woman. And so he's gonna they're gonna do kind of like a coercion on you here.
Oh no!
If we can. And that goes against what again, everybody? I believe that goes against a willpower. Discipline. What is your discipline?
Oh crap!
Is it now?
2 green.
And coercion goes off is presence, right? I'm pretty sure.
The coercion is will.
Coercion is will. Okay, so that's going to be 2 yellow for me. And what is yours? Sorry, Tony.
2 purple.
What was your 2 purple? Okay.
2 purple. Yep.
I'm actually going to give them a setback die because I don't know. He's not really. It doesn't feel like he's got his heart into it. Because he's talking to a freaking, I don't know what he doesn't really know what he's talking to, but he did hear the I can't because I live in this thing. He really can't see you. He just sees fog and green lightning. Is that what? I can't remember what you look like.
Yeah.
Kind of something like that.
I am a black fog of green lightning inside a bathysphere.
Okay.
The bathysphere is actually my armor, but I'm telling them it's my
your home,
my habitat. It's like my.
Okay.
That's what I told them. I live in here.
Now these city enforcers. Now I am getting these guys off of page out of the Secrets of the Crucible book, page 234. They are the city enforcers here, and I am going to use their force of justice here. It is a characters within short range of this character add a boost die to their combat checks, but when they're acting to uphold the law. And you know what? I'm going to give them a boost die because they're trying to uphold the law.
I am the law.
They are the law. So I have 2 yellow, a purple, 2 yellow, a blue, 2 purple, and a blick. Do anything to it? You get, all right, here we go. All right, let's roll it. Well, they fail.
All right.
To really convince you, to really coerce you to do anything, it would seem. But
Yeah.
it does kind of boost their morale just a little bit. I have one advantage though. Let me see. What will that? I think that'll give like their other group a boost die. I think on their check. Because the one guy's on the radio, it's like, yeah, we don't know. I mean, he's in a globe, but we can't freaking see him. He might be in here, but but there's this really big guy here. He might not be. I don't know. Just get your asses over here. Who wants to go next? It's you guys now. So both of them have gone. You guys go.
Well, you go, Ilgax.
All right. I have this talent here, distraction.
Awesome.
So your character may use this talent to make an average coordination, deception, or skullduggery check, and for each success on the check, one adversary of my choice in short range becomes disoriented. My character may spend advantage from that to inflict strain, and may spend successes from that to stagger a minion or a rival at short range.
Excellent.
So what I'm going to do is, this kiosk that's right next to us, the woman who's complaining, I'm just going to telekinetically break the legs of her table and spill all of her goods everywhere.
Awesome. That's great. All right.
So do you want that to be skullduggery or deception?
Gosh, I kind of like it being the sneaky sneak kind of skullduggery. I like it. It feels a lot of like trickery. I don't know. I think
I'll go with skullduggery. I'm okay with that.
I like skullduggery on that.
All right. So this is going to be a skullduggery check, and that did not. Nope, that's not me. Hold on. Silly game.
And the difficulty on this, what is there a set difficulty?
It says it has average difficulty for.
Oh, go for it. Okay. Yeah.
So and then I am also going to be spending a player story point to upgrade my check.
Go for it.
And let's see how this rolls out. So
that sounds good.
I had 4 successes and an advantage.
Oh, okay. So what do the successes mean again?
All right. So for each success, I can disorient a guard at short range. I want to do the one right next to me and the one through the crowd that's looking at. I want to disorient both. That's add a setback die to all their checks.
Well, the crowd, the one next to you is at short range. The other group is at medium range.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sitting forces, but there are 3. So that group is disoriented. That group is.
This is a minion group. Okay.
And
I'd
I'd
minion
like
group
to spend a success to stagger them.
Perfect. So stagger means they can't move. They won't be able to move really.
And one advantage to inflict strain. 1 strain.
Perfect.
As just the legs on the table break, and there is this huge distraction of goods from that woman's table falling everywhere.
That sounds good to me. I think we're going to say one of those guards was close enough to that table where some of the goods fall into him and he'll take that strain from that. Okay.
And then I'm going to use my maneuver afterward to float behind my friend, the big guy.
Awesome. And they're gonna lose their. That's a stagger. You lose your free maneuver.
Yes. No, stagger. They use their action.
Yeah, lose their action.
They lose their action.
Move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, immobilized. Immobilize is the.
They lose their next action.
Oh, okay, got it. Oh, well, awesome. That's fantastic. Okay. All right.
All right.
I'm done.
What is
all right.
Curzon gonna do?
Curzon looks at this. Okay, things are happening, and sees his friend float by. Well, time to go. It seems.
Yeah, and this group here just seems to be they're like, whoa, he's gone. Some of them are helping this lady with her carts, not sure what to do. People are kind of scattering a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Curzon, since it's a busy market, it probably has these stringers with banners or maybe clothes on them or things like that hanging over.
Which you're about that tall.
Flags.
You're probably tall enough
to reach with his between. You're big. Yeah, and if not, with his scythe, he'll just cut a few ropes or poles and have something fall down to obstruct the path, and then move along with his friend.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, why don't you? I don't know. This feels like just like a simple. I'd even make it an easy melee check.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with that. All right. Curzon, come on. Melee.
And just because you're a big guy, you have
Mm-hmm.
a big scythe.
Yeah.
There is a kiosk next to you with the boss. I'm going to flip a GM story point.
Okay.
Back to you. So it should have 2 in your pool.
All right. So let's go with his combat.
Because a despair would be ugly here.
Yeah.
So it'll be 1 red.
1 red. All right.
Hey, these people aren't innocent. Don't you try to use innocent bystanders against us.
Well, yeah. I mean.
All right. And did you? So you're upgrading it. So I've got.
So it'll just be a red. It'll just be a red instead of an easy purple. It'll just be an easy upgraded purple to a red.
Right, so no worries. So I've got 3 dice, 2 yellow, a green, and a setback because my weapon is massive and I'm not quite strong enough yet. So I'm still learning to maneuver it.
Okay.
And a red. I'm good with my pool. So let's roll them dice.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it 2 successes and an advantage.
All right. Yeah.
So snick. Some banners, a tarp over maybe one of the other stalls, and then maybe makes some goods fall as I maneuver as well, making the ground a bit more difficult.
All right.
And start beating a hasty retreat.
Sounds good. Which way are you going to move? Now, I'm going to say, quote unquote, that pinkish area is going to be, that crowd will be difficult terrain. We'll take an extra maneuver to move through it. So you can get to the other side of it if you want to spend a strain to do 2 maneuvers. I would say. Let's say. Okay.
I'll spend a maneuver at least to. Yeah, I am big, but still moving up. Let's say towards Ilgax as a maneuver, and another maneuver if I can, kind of to pick him up, so that we can move faster.
Sure. You could totally put the globe under your arm like a football or a basketball.
Yep, it's basketball.
I've got long
size.
Tentacles. So.
Yeah, basketball size.
So
that's what I was picturing. Yeah, Tony. Okay, cool. We're in the same wavelength there. All right.
Yep. So snick. Then he tucks the combat scythe neatly under one arm, grabs with the other, one tentacle, with the other tentacle, then just swoops around the globe and starts moving through the crowd. Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, and starts stinking up the place so badly. People will probably move away anyhow.
Okay, all right, cool.
Ooh, that smell.
Yep.
Child.
Actually, maybe that's why I'll spend a story point now, not on the dice roll, but simply to make it that the stink is really bad and affecting people that are making them move away, making the ground a little less difficult.
I like it. I could totally see this.
Crowd just
turning into
like,
something that kind of looks like oops, well, it's blue now, but that's okay. That kind of looks like like that
crowd
now.
dispersing
Just a little bit. So you maybe got a little path to go through.
Right.
There you go. All right. So it's kind of starting to disperse. Oh my gosh, it stinks. Oh, we don't like that. We need to. And you kind of hear other folks say, we totally have to pass that law to keep them from not coming into our market square.
It was those rats on a stick. They don't agree with me. Pardon me.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well, he's dignified. He also has that dignified bearing. That's a racial trait. So.
Okay. So
that was round one.
That was round one. So we move on to round two, with the city enforcers being called over here to these guys. They're going to have to spend both of their action and maneuver to kind of get around this to kind of get here. And they'll get to this kiosk. They're kind of here doing their thing.
So yeah, maybe what
these guys are
created
going
was
to move.
kind of a little debris there, roughly in that area, the light blue that I just drew.
Yep, and then these guys are going to move up, but they can't act.
Right.
So these enforcers, they're kind of within like short range of you guys now, but they can't. But city enforcers, they're minions, so they can't spend their, what do you call it?
Yeah, they can't spend strain to get an extra maneuver.
They can't spend their strain. Right.
But they could downgrade their action to get a second maneuver.
Which they can't act though.
No, but then
City Enforcers 1 had to spend their maneuver and their action to kind of basically get within short range of be over to pretty much where you guys started. Because of the crowd, avoiding the crowd, getting over here, and they're telling them what they're doing. They're pulling out these stun guns.
So group 2 had to shake off my distraction and then start towards us.
Pretty much. Yep.
Got it.
Yep. So now your guys' turn.
All right.
Would you like me to fly us out of here?
If you can, yes, pull that trick out of your not your hat, but your suit. Actually, I can fly.
Both can.
Yeah, my character can fly. He's picked you up. He starts flying. Let him take the lead and just zip on into the air.
I'll let you go then. I'll let you fly, and I'm going to create a miasmic cloud of smoke from my bathysphere to basically stealth us as we're flying.
Cover our retreat.
Flying up and over the. All right.
So I would downgrade my action to another maneuver so I can move twice while you cover our escape then.
Sounds good. Hey, that sounds great.
All right.
Well, congratulations, guys, because the distance that you could cover is straight up and gone.
Pretty much.
You're basically at medium range. You have this cloud below you. And these guys, you see like these stun guns just kind of get shot up that just miss and completely. They don't really have the range. They really don't have the range for this to kind of hit you guys. Yeah, you do kind of notice though, as you're kind of flying out, there are some folks kind of getting out what the equivalent of like maybe cell phones would be and taking pictures of you. And so you're probably on some, radar of a law enforcement somewhere now. So
I make sure they get to my good side at least.
Oh, there you go. Most excellent. And of course, Ilgax, he could totally change what he's going to be running around in. So, right? So, no big.
If he wants to, yeah.
And you have the handicap sack.
Yay!
Siler's going to be pissed, though. Maybe. Who knows? But no, well done, gentlemen. Well done.
There we go. As we fly off into the sunset. Huge mantis with tentacles flying off in the distance.
Now, what these guys had, their stun batons and their guns had the concussive quality. So if I would have been able to at least get an attack off, I had a chance to potentially take you down for a round, which could potentially have created some chaos there. Might have been able to apprehend you. But the distraction, neat distraction, Tony. Well done.
Great.
Best talent for a rogue class
Yeah.
character ever.
Ever. And what talent was that
Yeah.
again, Tony? What was that
Distraction. It's directly
Distraction.
right out of the Keyforge book.
Yeah.
again? Oh, that's fantastic.
Look over
Well
there.
done. Well done. Well, that
Excellent.
was sadly, unless we do one on episode 100, that might be either our last or second to the last Advantageous Threats.
It
Yep.
could be.
Um,
This could be the last one.
It could
And,
be. And
we left in a fog.
Yes. Of war, not war. No.
That's
Just
never to
accept
be seen again, or will you be?
it. Ah,
All right.
Excellent. So let's wrap this up.
Let's. Well, all right, everybody. Well, that's our show. That is episode 98. Next show.
So close.
I know we are. We're going to be doing. Stefan's going to be GMing Tony, Sean, and myself through the finale of his Dragonstar adventure called Between a Rock and a Hard Place. Part 4, I believe, of that
Yep.
one. So, looking forward to that, buddy.
yeah. What's going to happen? What kind of plot am I cooking up?
What hard place are we going to be between?
Yes.
What
What
rock?
rock
and
are
hard...
we going to see next?
I know. What hard?
What ingredients would Rongo find? How will Udo get out of this mess?
Oh, we were in a pickle. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure there's going to be pickles in whatever I make next.
Yeah.
That's right.
And how will Hatru blow those pickles up?
That's right. And then how can
yeah.
you find more yakitori sauce, man?
Yeah.
Right? Which I had teriyaki wings the other day, and I kind of thought of this. I'm like, teriyaki? Yeah, yakitori, baby. Almost ordered them yakitori too. Almost.
Nice.
All right. Anyways,
Uh,
what do we have for? Do any listener feedback there, Steph?
a little bit. I found that one of our listeners, Guillaume Tardif, who came out with the Inquisition setting for Genesis, had posted on Facebook. He has a French Genesis page because now Edge Studio is in France. So a lot of the text sometimes or news is in French. And apparently going forward, Edge Studios will be offering a specific code that allows people to download the free PDF version whenever you buy the physical copy. Hopefully, maybe they'll allow this if they ever reprint other books that have already come out, like Keyforge and the basic handbook and the expanded the player's guide, etc.
Cool.
Which would be nice, yes. Instead of paying twice for the book, when you
Fantastic.
buy the, would allow you to download it for free. So hopefully that'll work out in the future.
Nice. Yeah, I always buy Dead Tree versions, so I mean, and I always end up paying for a digital version at some point. So
Well,
be
it's
nice
some
for me.
other.
Bit of savings.
Well, yeah, some companies have done that where they allow you to download the PDF for free if you buy the physical one.
Right.
So it's nice to be able to do that.
I know the
Yeah,
latest couple of Kickstarters that I had, I do the Dead Tree and the PDF comes with that as far as the the rewards go for it and such, and you get the PDF first, then they'll mail you the Dead Tree version of it.
Well, that's it.
So,
Yeah,
Good.
even on Drive-Thru RPG, sometimes you do the print on demand, and they'll stick in the PDF for free since it's already there. So
and even on I think the Free League Publishing, a lot of their stuff you buy it, you get their PDF, you get the PDF right away, and then it's being sent from overseas, so it's going to take a few weeks to get the real books, but
Nice.
good stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, I did that with my Shinetar when I backed their Kickstarters, got the PDF, and then Dead Tree version a little while after. So
Cool.
Very nice.
Well done, Ed
that's it
Studio.
for- yes.
All right. 21st century. Love it.
Yep.
So if you, speaking of 21st century, you want to get on your interwebs and you want to reach out to us, that's the way to do it. findingthenarrativepodcast, gmail.com, or Finding the Narrative on Facebook or Mayway, or Twitter at @FTN_Genesys. Recommend our podcast both now and in the future, way in the far future when we no longer have money. At Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and more. This is Tony saying, let's tell a story and spend a story point.
And this is Stefan saying, dare to ask for those boost dice.
And this is Chris saying, remember the rule of cool. Have all of your kiosk vendors in the market square have reinforced legs on their tables. But just have fun. Play it.
And stink up the place before you leave.
Exactly. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast, is not affiliated with or endorsed by any company mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. Copyright 2022. All rights reserved.